161st Street, Yankee Stadium.
Swung on a hit there. The deep center. Gets back, away back. She is gone.
All right, welcome back to the Boys of 161st Street. We're finally back. Today is Wednesday, November 9th, episode 239. The World Series is over. It is officially the offseason. We wanted a little bit of time in between the end of the Yankees season to sulk / just not give a fuck about the Yankees for a little bit. So we've officially spent our time away, and we are ready to fully dive into the offseason. We got a lot to talk about today since we haven't recorded since the end of the season. Exciting.
The end of our season.
What? End of our season and the whole season. And we will get into next episode. Just I'll say this at the top of the show as a little housekeeping. Will be the 161 awards. We will post the excuse me while this ambulance passes by. I live in New York City. The city.
Of course.
Really just not considerate of somebody recording a podcast, but we will be posting the nominees. Each of us will nominate one person for the 161 award in question. We'll post the poll on Instagram, and you guys will vote. Whatever you guys decide will be the winners of said award, like MVP, biggest dumbass. We'll make up some other awards. We'll take the ones from last year, and then we'll do some more. If you want to get a taste for what that'll look like, go back and scroll down and listen to that episode. But lots of stuff to talk about today. How are we doing, fellas? How have we coped with the Astros winning the World Series?
I think we all kind of knew. It wasn't shocking.
I honestly thought there was a chance.
Everyone gave a shit for projecting the Astros to win, and look at it now.
Can we look back at that and see how correct we were? I know we didn't get them all right, but we might have gotten these right.
We also got
well, we did it before it was locked up, so it was kind of.
So like the seeding.
Or we might have gotten.
In mine, I argued for the Phillies to make it to the NLCS, and you guys all told me I was crazy.
I don't recall saying you were crazy.
You didn't.
I thought the Cardinals were better than they were.
I blew that way out of proportion. You guys told me I had some great points, but we were just going more chalk for graphic purposes.
Yeah, I mean the Phillies they showed what they were good at. Bryce Harper played out of his fucking mind. They could hit outside of him, and their starting pitching was good. But
they did. That was the exact team the Yankees were supposed to be.
Yeah, top heavy with the superstar. Surrounding
Bryce
pieces.
Harper was supposed to be
pitching.
Aaron Judge. The pitching was supposed to show up, and then those little pieces were supposed to fall into place.
And a bad bullpen, yeah.
And we still would have lost the Astros, so that's good to know.
Yeah, I mean,
I really don't think anybody could have beat the Astros. Like, actually, there's
the only team that could have is the Dodgers, and they just weren't hot, and they got beat.
Dude,
I thought there was a chance the Phillies could have won.
Yeah, I did too.
I really thought they could.
Watching the games, they had those moments where I was like, "Oh shit, that actually might happen."
I mean, yeah, there were cracks in their armor. They got blown out 7-0 one game, but for a whole, that's why it's 7. That's a hard team. They were good. And it's scary because I don't know who they lost except for Trey Mancini and Verlander, maybe.
Verlander's not going anywhere. We can go ahead and dive into our own thing and stop sucking off the Astros.
So
I don't think we're getting Verlander, just by the way. I don't know why that rumor's out there. It was out there last year. We offered him more money, and he still went to the Astros. So, like, what makes you think we're going to get him this time around?
Speaking of people that don't want to play,
maybe the Astros don't want to pay him that much because they think. But he's also probably going to win the Cy Young. So,
yeah, I mean, he still throws like 98. He still throws like 97, 98. He's going to win the Cy Young. He just won a World Series. I think they'll probably offer him a decent contract.
Yeah, he's going to stay as an Astro. Speaking of things that are a little more in-house, I guess we'll start at the top. The one thing that has a lot of implications that's already in-house is, we've seen the article or the tweet that said Volpe is close to making an impact in the Bronx next year. We just got this new tweet from Joel Sherman or an interview or something like that. He said that the Yankees people have assured him that they will be going with Volpe or Peraza next year. So with that being said, I think that if you had any hopes of the Yankees getting Trey Turner in this offseason, That is probably not going to happen considering, I mean, I'm excited about this, but I also would have preferred to have Trey Turner because he's one of my favorite players and he's good at everything. So a little sad, but a little bittersweet for me. But thoughts immediately on both those comments regarding the two very good shortstops.
I'm just surprised they said it that early.
I'm surprised they said it that early. I don't think that it's shocking that Trey Turner or Correa or any of those guys aren't coming here. They basically said it from day one that they're going to have an in-house like competition for it. There was no chance. There was literally no chance. Maybe less than 1% that they're and that still holds true with other positions, by the way. Whether or not they re-sign Judge, that's their only big splashy move. So if you think they're getting Carlos Rodon or some high ticket free agent, that is just, you're fooling yourself. Look at what this team's done in the last, I don't know, since 2008. What was, other than Garrett Cole, name another person they've even tried to land that is a big high ticket free agent. Name one.
Chapman would be the most recent one.
That's not a high ticket.
Kind of.
That's a reliever that they gave a albatross contract.
At the time, he was a big free agent.
He
wasn't
That's what I said.
He but he was a big free agent.
Darren
He was
O'Day.
the other most recent one. And if he's the
Matt
best
Carpenter.
example we can come up with, then that proves your point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not happening. So if you're sitting here waiting for this offseason and waiting for some fireworks, this is about as good of fireworks as you can get. And now that everybody's fucking verified, I don't even know if that's true. I like to think it is. I watched the interview.
I just saw that tweet that you sent. For those that don't know, and you live under a rock, since Elon Musk bought Twitter, everybody can now pay for a subscription plan to be verified. And I just saw a tweet from the name is Hal Steinbrenner, and it is a bag of money next to his name. Verified. And the tweet said, "I had sex with Brian Cashman." So that's just about how good that's going, to be expected. But yeah, Damon, thoughts on the Volpe Peraza sitch? Who would you prefer, Damon?
I don't know. I really love the way Peraza played and like the signs that he was showing us. I would love to find a way to get him playing next year. All I'll say is that I am super excited to see one of them, hopefully both of them, but super excited to see one of them play an entire season. However, they better fucking play well, and that better work out, or else they're gonna get death threats about not signing a shortstop, like a high ticket shortstop during the offseason, like in the previous years. Because we've been promised like in-house shortstop that's gonna like be like one of our top players for years now, and we've passed on these free agents for what 2-3 years at this point.
Yeah,
So
the best free agent shortstop.
the best
class.
free agent shortstop
Back to
class
back.
we've ever
And
seen.
now another
back to
great.
back.
I mean, one of them is returned. Two of them are returning. My one thing on the Peraza versus Volpe thing is they said that Volpe is close to making an impact in the Bronx. That tells me that he's probably not going to be opening day. And since Peraza has been up before, then he most likely will be the opening day. If in fact they are going with one of them, like they just said they are, leads me to believe that Peraza will be on the opening day roster at shortstop, which I'm excited about. But that means that Volpe will probably be like halfway through the year, which makes sense because he hasn't really got any experience at all. At what was the highest he was in? AAA?
Double A, but
Double,
no, he played
yeah.
AAA at the end of the year. But let me offer you this. I think there's a realistic chance that you could see both of them on the opening day roster, one at short, one at second, or one at
Does Gleyber
short,
Torres
one
on
at
that
third.
roster?
No, I think Gleyber Torres is all but gone just based on the comments today and
Yeah,
based
I
on the
agree.
fact that they almost traded him. But I think Volpe is closer than you think. The biggest jump in the minors is from high A to double A. Double A to triple A is, it's a little bit sharper. It's a little bit whatever. But that big jump from high A to double A is, listen to interviews with minor leaguers or anything like that, they all reference that. If you but listen to older big leaguers, especially on the pitching side, they talk about how getting ready, they'll face those younger guys because they're so raw and it's like a jumpstart fast course to get ready for the season. Like I was listening to Paul LaDuca talk about it a couple of years ago. He's like, yeah, I mean, those single A guys, before they make that jump, they're so raw. They have no idea where they're throwing it. They have these great nasty pitches, but I would just, rather than doing spring training at the end of my career, I would go take live at bats against those guys. I don't know. That's just to illustrate my point. I think that he is not as far away as maybe the comments would indicate or anything like that. There was something that came out today. He's the only player ever in like some sort of era, like the StatCast era, or some ridiculous era that had 50 plus stolen bases and 25 or 20 home runs in a season in the minor leagues. So
it's pretty good.
I think there's a pretty decent chance that Peraza starting at short and you see Volpe at one of the other infield spots. I know that they're doubling down on Donaldson, and I just don't. I think that's the fact that they're going this far out of their way to say that Donaldson's the third baseman makes me think that he's not going to be. Much like they said, Gio Urshela is their shortstop. Gio Urshela is their shortstop. There's no way he's our shortstop. He's our guy. And then a week later, we have IKF and Josh Donaldson.
Right. I don't think we need to read too deeply into the comments, but the comments were for reference that Brian Cashman says the GM meetings that Josh Donaldson will be the team's third baseman. And one other thing that you briefly touched on, but I want to go back to the reference about Gleyber Torres potentially not being on the roster, and we can dive into that convo a little bit. But Chris Kirschner, he had a check. I think he had a check before checks were purchasable. So I think
an OG check.
He had an original check. Would it be funny if they start wiping checks and just like random people that actually had checks didn't have checks anymore? That'd be cool. But he asked checks. Brian, he asked Cashman about how he views Gleyber Torres and if he views him as a long-term solution at second base. And he said, Cashman, this is, we view him as our second baseman. He's under control for this year, maybe 2 more years. I don't know if there's any such thing as long-term in our marketplace unless you're on a Cole or Stanton contract. So what that tells me is that they are very much open to trading him, and he is not the long-term solution. I mean, if you have a young guy who is 25 years old and he is not absolutely your long-term solution, trade him right now because there's no reason to keep him on the roster. If you know you're going to let him walk and just test free agency in a few years, while you have team control, while he is tradable, and he had a pretty good year, like he doesn't have no value. He has a lot of value right now. So he has multiple years of team control. There's no reason why you should keep him if you don't see him in your future plans.
I mean, the reason is that you're getting value for his contract that is pennies on the dollar compared to whoever you would replace him with that you are pulling from free agency.
Yeah, I'm just saying
that's why. Like,
I get it. I'm just saying there's no reason why. Like, if you can trade him and you have this guy in Volpe that can come up and play second base at a close to, I think he can play second base close to the level that Gleyber Torres can. It's a big if, obviously, but I think if you can bring that up, even if he doesn't, you're getting somebody else in return from Gleyber Torres. They could be like a top flight starting pitcher, which we desperately need.
Get a top flight one. I think
they had the opportunity to do that with Pablo Lopez.
Well,
at the deadline.
The Marlins are the ones. No, the Marlins are the ones who backed out of that. So
no, we did because they asked for Gleyber at the end.
They backed out of it. We offered Gleyber. It was a done deal. They backed out on their side. They wanted more. They wanted Gleyber, and then they wanted a prospect on top of it. I think you're going to get a lot of people have tossed around the name like Eric Lauer or Lar or whatever the fuck, however you want to pronounce it, from the Brewers. You're going to get a 3 or 4 starter for him. That's it. Like, that is what it is.
In which case, I wouldn't take that. Would you?
Yankees pulled out.
They
pulled out late.
I saw
for a trade that would have sent Gleyber to the Marlins for Pablo Lopez.
Semantics. Doesn't matter. Regardless, it didn't go through.
Who cares? It didn't go
through. I'm just saying you're not getting Pablo Lopez for Gleyber Torres straight up. I believe it was because they asked for Peraza as well. But either way, you're not. I'm just saying again, temper your expectations. If they trade Gleyber Torres, it's not going to be straight up 1-for-1 for some splashy high end arm. You're going to get a middle of the rotation solid depth piece. You're not going to get an ace. You're not going to get a shitty 5 starter somewhere in the middle. And that's fine. That's fine. If that's what you want to do, if that's what you're going to do and you want to go with the kids, I guess, and you want to put Peraza and Volpe up the middle, then go ahead. If that's your thing and you can go package him and with maybe not Peraza, but somebody decent and go get a Pablo Lopez who they're trying to shop again this winter, then go do it. That's fine. I don't really care. I don't really know. here's my thing with Gleyber Torres. You have two options basically, and I think both are pivotal to this offseason. Are you can either A, extend him so he knows he has that security, or you can B, trade him. I don't think you can walk into next year with him on the contract he has now because he's shown that the talks surrounding him affect his game. August was his worst month of the entire season. He died in August after all the trade rumors floated, and he was almost a done deal, and they pulled the plug, and they've kind of floated that around time and time again. Whenever it actually almost came to fruition, it clearly affected his play. Right or wrong, say what you want. Yeah, there's a human element to it, and I think if you give him the security, he goes out and he's a solid contributor for the length of that contract. I think if you don't, you got to trade him, because if you're floating those rumors out again, I don't think he gives you up to his potential if you do that. Again, that's just me. I'm not a fucking psychologist, but that's just based on trends. And whenever those rumors fly around, he plays worse.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line, what we have to look at too, is we have a big enough sample size of the player that Gleyber Torres is today. And like I said, the bottom line is that he's a slightly above average hitter and a negative defender. I mean, he has a 114 career OPS plus. He's got a 265 career batting average. He's not the perennial superstar player that we thought he was in the first 2 years of his career. And with that being said, everybody sees that, and he's going to garner that value in return. And it's not what you think. So I don't know. I'm torn whether or not I would deal him or not, if it's for a 2 or 3 starter. But I don't know. I in return, we're probably going to get a slightly above average starter or somebody.
What do we need that for? We don't need.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's why I wouldn't want to do it.
If he's part of a package for somebody that actually makes a difference, fine.
Yeah.
But until then, I'm fine with paying him $8 million a year to produce the way he's doing until his arbitration's over in 2025. And if in those 2 years he proves something worth giving him a contract, great.
Yeah.
And if he hits 250 with 25 home runs, fine.
Especially because there's Volpe is not going to be on the starting opening day roster. Like, he's not going to be.
If Gleyber's on it, he won't be. Yeah.
Well, no, I'm saying regardless.
We're also not talking about DJ.
Regardless, Volpe is just not going to be on the opening day roster.
I don't think he
might.
He hasn't played enough in AAA to really vouch for that.
Yeah,
but
he comes up in
really
spring training.
care. Like, AAA isn't that big of a deal. Look at the Braves. They pulled up fucking, what was it, Michael Harris straight from AA. He did just
yes, but you're taking the franchise that treats their young players the best versus the team that treats their young players the worst.
That's a good point.
It's not going to happen.
No, that's fair, but I think they feel the pressure to do something, and I don't think that's going to make them.
What makes you think they feel the pressure to do something?
No, well, because here's why. It's because you look back in the last 5-10 years, you see every single can't miss position prospect that we've had, and none of them have panned out. And it's because they're, rather than taking that leap from AA to the MLB, or whether you have a stop or not in AAA on the way, they've been keeping these guys down, and now maybe they're realizing it. And maybe that's why they're saying they're going to give them a fair shot to make the opening day roster. Because clearly what they've been doing, prospect-wise, especially for position players, hasn't been panning out. Judge is the last one to do it, and he still came up when he was 25.
And pitchers, too. Like, Clark Schmidt's been kind of in limbo for a while now.
Keep sending him back and forth, too, and that fucks with you.
But, you look at Gleyber, I guess, is a decent. You look at Gleyber, you look at Andujar, you look at Frazier.
Andujar,
yeah. All these guys.
You mean Jackson?
Yeah, Jackson.
Yeah, watch your time.
No, he plays for, Mexican League Toros now, so put some respect on his name.
Jackson.
Yeah. Look, I think we're kind of in a similar position, especially if Judge walks, to that team that was in 2017.
If Judge walks, that's the thing.
Yeah. If Judge walks, which I think there's a pretty good chance of, you're not winning. You're not winning next year. Even if Judge is back, I would argue you're probably not winning. There's so many things that need to be done, and I really doubt they do it. That if you're not playing for a World Series, you're in that same position. They show a willingness to do it in 2017, 2018 with those guys, Gleyber, Andujar. Maybe this is just wishful thinking, and I need something to grab onto because I know they're not going to do anything in the free agent world. But if you don't pull up Volpe, at least Peraza, and Volpe should be there too. But if one of them is not up, then I mean, I don't know how you can justify that to fans. And I think this is a year where if you run out IKF, Donaldson, whatever, the exact same team, leave the kids down, you're going to see it take a hit on attendance. I think that people are actually going to stop showing up this year because people are fed up with it. And that's where, if you want to hit House Steinbrenner where it hurts, and people say it all the time, but we're all fucking addicted and we still go anyway. I think people are pissed off enough at this point. Obviously, not everyone. You guys are still going to go to games. I'm still going to go to games. But there's a lot of people that aren't going to go as much now. Things are going to, if they roll this team out here without a free agent signing, without Judge, and without youth, what are you selling at that point? Even the casual fan looks at that team and you're 10 games under 500. Nobody really cares. There's nobody who are you excited to go see at that point?
Yeah, I mean it's
look at one name.
We all have this like ridiculous, just like all of our feelings and like almost addiction towards the Yankees. Like we care so much, but it is a give and take. Like the team eventually. I mean, look at teams like the Colts that are up in flames right now. I'm not saying we're the Colts, but I mean, Jim Irsay had some funny comments that was actually kind of entertaining. I'd pay a ticket to go see that. But just like at a certain point, people will start to not come and not show support for the team. And until that point, Hal Steinbrenner is going to continue to ignore things like that until it actually hurts his wallet, like you said, Chandler. So until that day, I don't see any changes in a GM or anything like that. But if there is a serious decline in attendance this upcoming year, which I don't think is going to be a serious decline, I do agree. I think the sentiment around the Yankees is starting to shift because they haven't done it for a long time and they're continuing to press the wrong buttons. So I don't know.
Yeah, but they have as it sits right now, they have as good of an opportunity to make it to a World Series next year as any other team in Major League Baseball, except maybe the Dodgers and maybe the Astros.
Yeah, they were tied for 6th in the power ranking, way too early power rankings. But
you're the favorite for Judge, whether we think he's coming back or not. You're the favorite for Judge, and they did free up some space with some other deals. I know they're still paying Donaldson $24.5 million more than he's worth, but
so he's worth
there's
zero.
space.
That was funny.
Yeah, thanks. So, and then we can talk about anything else, whether they bring Turner or not. The fact that they are talking about bringing Volpe, Cabrera, and Peraza as part of the 2023 team before they know what's going on with Judge shows at least a willingness to bring them up.
And willingness to change too. Yeah,
I think Cashman is arrogant. He makes really stupid decisions, and we all can't fucking stand the things he does, which, interestingly enough, he's actually not signed yet. He's in an at-will contract, which I think is hilarious. But like
a termination at will?
He's just on like a week-to-week contract.
This is a genuine question. Why are they doing that?
I don't know.
Why?
What does it,
like,
what
I
does
don't
it mean?
understand.
Do we know what it
Because
means?
how is he? Well, if
he doesn't have a contract.
He's talking to Judge's agent because the Yankees are the only ones who can talk to Judge for the next, I think, like week or so.
He said no comment on that. Actually,
he's talking to. He has to be.
Well, he told us he was talking to 2 high-ticket shortstops this time last year too. If you remember that press conference.
No, I know, but nobody else can reach out to Judge. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like until next week or something, because he was in that qualifying, whatever. So he's bargaining for Judge to come back. Is his contract based on Judge re-signing? Like, I just don't. I don't know.
No,
like, what happens if he re-signs Judge in this at-will contract? Do they re-sign him, or do he re-sign Judge and then they tell him to get lost? I don't understand.
They're operating on a handshake agreement right now, which is wild. Show me any competent team in baseball that does that. They don't. That just and that goes to show every single thing that we bitched about on the last episode on our season eulogy about how from top down they're just fucking incompetent. And we start with Hal Steinbrenner and worked our way down. Hal Steinbrenner doesn't give a shit. A true owner that cares about his team. You're not. When did our season end? 20 days ago, probably, give or take. Yeah. And we don't have a general manager. Free agency started. We don't have a general manager. like on contract, and he's not talking to anybody.
In
They
a
have
free agent
handshake.
offseason where like the biggest free agent we have since, A-Rod, after having an MVP year, nearly breaking records, breaking some records. That's a pretty pivotal offseason to have a GM in place, at least, let alone go after the guy.
This is the most pivotal offseason in probably 10, 15 years, at least.
Yeah.
Not even with Judge, just because you have so many questions that need addressed, and the temperament around the team is so negative right now. There's a lot of damage control to be done. I know they don't care what the fans think, but again, with the way that it looks right now, and you know what shows me that they believe it are all these reports. They're at least seeing the way fans are receiving this team. All the reports that are leaking about how everybody's got this bad opinion of the fan base and everything like that, and all the players, which a lot of that's coming from New York media, that they're covering their tracks in case Aaron Judge leaves. And the fact that they're using that means that they're at least willing to acknowledge the fact that things aren't good right now. And if you want to blame it on the fans and being New York Yankees fans and how we're all assholes, go right ahead. But the fact of the matter is, those are the fans. Those are the people that are playing. If you can acknowledge that they're pissed off, even if you want to blame stuff on all of us, you know something is going wrong. You can at least see it. You're not blind to that. And I think that's why you commit to the younger guys now. But beyond that, like I said, it's the most pivotal offseason in 10, 15 years with the way that they're losing the fan base. Like, just fucking rapid fire right now.
Agreed.
And we don't have a general manager. We don't have a general manager.
So all that being said, and we're going to talk about the actual free agents and all that in a little bit more detail as the offseason moves along. But for today specifically, let's talk a little bit about the people that are in-house, at least right now. And in my eyes, this offseason, I don't want to sound like the guy who's just going to, run the same exact thing back, but I think some of the best moves this year, this is kind of obvious, but bring back Judge. A lot of the other moves this year, I feel like, are retaining a lot of the free agents that are potentially leaving, and by a lot, I mean Rizzo and Judge. I really want Rizzo to come back,
and Benny
and Benintendi. I think those three make a lot of sense. I don't care about Tyone. I don't care about. I do care about Carpenter, but I would like him to come back. But they could sign him like a Brett Gardner like week before the season type thing. Regardless of all that, I think the season blueprint, the offseason blueprint starts with retaining Judge. Obviously, I don't need to say that twice, but Rizzo and Benintendi as well, I feel like are very high priorities versus just finding random other people on not the scrap heap, but out of the free agent class. Because we're not going to go after shortstops. So I think those three guys I would like to retain. Do you guys feel differently about that? Outside of Judge, obviously.
No, I mean, Rizzo's a no-brainer. You got to bring him back. Two-way player, great, big locker room guy.
Huge
locker room guy.
Murph, locker room guy?
I mean, like the definition of locker room guy.
He's a better locker room guy when Judge is there too, because they're like
Jizzo. They're Jizzo.
The two, Jizzo. Exactly.
There's also no other good free agent on first baseman on the market, and we don't have a good first baseman.
Yeah, who would Wells come up and be our first baseman?
It'd be DJ.
It would be DJ.
That's true. Which isn't a terrible.
I love DJ LeMahieu, but he's not a first baseman.
Right, but I think there's a world where. Let's say Rizzo doesn't start with us. There's a world where we do have Glaber and then the Volpe and Peraza situation, we're obviously committed to Donaldson apparently, which I hope isn't the case. But they moves.
Said he's
I know, but
they said he's the third baseman.
Yeah, I got it. But
at this point, package him with Dominguez for someone who can play baseball. I don't care.
Anyone who can play baseball.
He sucks.
Yeah, but
no, he won't. They can pay him $25 to sit on the bench. I don't care.
Rizzo. What do you think the odds are that he comes back? I'm assuming we all want him.
You were gonna say 60 something, Damon, and I'm with you.
What?
60? He comes back.
Say 60.
I said 60.
Yeah, I didn't say
was
that.
it you? I thought it was Damon. Yes, I was thinking 60 as well.
I think he likes it here too. I think he would sign back. I mean, bagel shop right up the block. If he doesn't come back, I want to be upset because then I'll never run into him at the bagel store anymore. But
I gotta say, I feel like it is like, I don't know when. Does he need to decide by a certain day?
Before another
Like,
team signs him, yeah.
Well, does he have a qualifying offer?
Yeah.
So
But
say
I feel like
No,
the whole-
he's turning
He
down
opted
the
out already.
qualifying offer.
Okay,
yeah,
I
no,
didn't
but
know
he
that.
had he got a
He's
qualifying
declining
offer as well, Luke. But
19 million. He's
So-
expected
the-
to decline it though.
the
I
whole
didn't know
reason
that.
he's
Alright, so
getting
he hasn't
a qualifying
yet, so
offer is
that's what I meant.
for draft pick compensation for us. Like he's in the same boat as Judge, basically. Like he's not going to take it. The only one, actually, I don't even know. Did Jamison Tyone get a qualifying offer?
No,
No.
they
Really?
haven't confirmed
That's-
that yet.
That's shocking. But
That is
so
shocking,
the whole
yes.
reason Rizzo opted out, I'm assuming, is for length anyway, rather than playing on a 1-year deal. So
Yeah.
I don't think the qualifying offer really makes a lot of sense for him. So
Right.
I mean the AAV of the qualifying offer makes sense. That's probably in the neighborhood of what he'll get on the open market. But he's probably looking for 3 or 4 more years, round out his career on a high note. That's kind of why I'm a little nervous that Chicago could swoop in. Chicago's got all the fucking money in the world to do whatever they want, basically. They're building up something nice there. They're not far from contention. They're the favorites to land one of the high caliber shortstops. Bring in Anthony Rizzo, mix him with the young guys, bring in a high caliber shortstop.
It makes
fortify
too
that
much sense. You
rotation.
don't need to
No, it
explain
makes
why
so
the
much-
Cubs are a good suitor for him, obviously. And I'd be really upset. I'd be really happy because it would make sense. 60-40 sounds about right, mainly because of the need and there's no other people, and because of the fit. I think he's great. It's a lefty, balances the lineup out. Yeah, I think we're all in agreement there. Hopefully,
He's also just the epitome of consistency. He's going to hit 32 home runs, 2-something batting average, 220 something batting
Platinum
average
glove.
every single year. Play good defense.
How
That's fine.
how dependent do you think it is on Judge returning?
not
I think it's very dependent on Judge.
really.
I do too.
Well, maybe not to whether. Well, no, because they already extended.
I think
the offer.
it plays a factor.
I mean, I think that it's a shame because the first priority, obviously, for the front office is to lock up Judge, and they want to do it quickly, not only to just secure that, but also to dictate the rest of the offseason, because this offseason goes one of two ways very quickly based on how the Judge negotiations go, and it doesn't sound like they're going to be ending anytime soon. So they're going to be kind of waiting around, not spending the money that they could be, so that they have it to offer Judge.
Missing
And
out
then
on
if
other free
he
agents.
all of a sudden missing out on other free agents, then all of a sudden if he leaves, then the Yankees are going to be scrambling with a whole bunch of money to spend, but nobody to spend it on towards the end of the offseason. So the first and foremost, they need to figure out how to lock up Judge,
quickly.
or they need to be able to take other leaps and essentially write it out. Like,
But
that
what you're
is the
saying,
number one
yeah.
thing. The rest of the offseason is based on whether you sign Judge, because there goes $35 million of your payroll for next year gone. Right.
And
there.
what you're saying too is you can't make those other moves before the Judge move because you don't know how much money you're going to have. You have to allocate essentially that you are going to keep Judge and then operate under the assumption that you're getting ancillary pieces. And if you're doing that, but you're probably going to be focused on doing the Judge deal first. I'm kind of just reiterating what you said, but just like it does all depend on Judge. Moral of the story here, sign him as fast as humanly possible before anybody else can make really offers. I know they're probably talking about it right now.
No, it's next week. He can start talking to other teams, and he's going to start getting offers. But right now, it's during that qualifying period, so the Yankees are the only ones that can talk to him. Obviously, they're not talking about a qualifying offer. They extended him his 21 million qualifying offer. That bullshit. He's not taking that.
Worst case scenario is that the Yankees beat around the bush, don't sign him. We lose out on free agents during that interim period while we're talking to Judge, and now we're left with nothing. We're probably being forced into a rebuild, honestly.
That's
So-
no.
I think
No, because
let me put it this way.
no.
They're rebuilding. If they don't re-sign Judge,
they can't.
They're not reallocating his money. Who are they going to?
It doesn't matter. They can't rebuild. The farm system's not good enough to rebuild.
If not Judge, who? Like, who are you going to give that money to? It's not Trey Turner.
I would
Who-
like it to be.
No, I'm just saying the Yankees aren't in a position to even rebuild at this point.
I'm saying you're
Yeah,
forced.
bring
They
up
are. They
you're
have
forcing
plenty
your
of
young
good
guys,
position
sure.
players. They don't have good pitching, but that's the only right now. The only strength of this team is pitching.
Everybody that we've heard of that's not named Jason Dominguez, Oswald Peraza, and Anthony Volpe is at least 2 years away.
I was just saying.
Dominguez-
I was just saying forced
Okay,
into a
but you
rebuild
also
due to the
have-
fact that we won't have any free agents to go after, or
We
we
don't
have shitty
have-
ones to spend our money on.
We're
It
not
would
going
be
to spend money.
2016.
We're not going to spend money. That's what that's if it's not Judge, it's nobody. And I'm not saying maybe a full rebuild. Then
That's what I was saying.
They can't do a full rebuild though. Like, yeah, in theory, you can't resign Judge. So you go back to square one and you build up with the guys that are coming up. But it's Volpe, Peraza, Cabrera. That's it. Dominguez is 2 years away. Wells is 2 years away. Pariah is 2 years away. Sweeney's 2 years away. Like they don't have like an Orioles farm system where you have 5 guys in the top 100 list that are a year or two away. They have 3 guys in the top 100 list, and one of them or 2 of them are a year and a half away. The other one is 2 years, 3 years away. So they're gonna have to. It's like 2016. They're gonna put
I
one of
hate
those
that. That's what I was
kind of teams
trying
together, which
yeah.
sucks.
That's what I meant.
But
Yeah, they're gonna
They
they're
have
gonna
a-
use the money left over, missing out on every big free agent that's actually good and worth buying, missing out on Judge, and they would use the leftover cash that would have been allocated to those guys to put together a couple of Carlos Beltrons and Chase Headleys.
they'll be in trouble.
God,
They're gonna
that-
have like Jose Abreu and Josh Bell, and
I
That's
wouldn't
who they
hate
do.
Josh Bell.
Josh Bell didn't
But-
get out in the playoffs, from what I was
Also,
watching.
I'm looking at the 2024 free agent class in case they try to justify that as we have our eye like they did with the shortstop class.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're
you
gonna-
got
they
Manny
got-
Machado if he opts.
they got
out, but we're not-
IKF out of that one.
Rafael Devers is an interesting name, but they're not going to get him.
No shot.
The problem with
Julio
looking at these
Urias.
2024 free agent classes and having your eye on that, which we've seen in the past, is you have no idea who's actually going to hit the free agent market by that point.
Oh no, I'm
So-
just saying if they try and justify it because that's what they do. That's how they fucking operate, and that's how they get people to buy into what they're doing. And they have in the past is like, yeah, okay, we're not spending money because we're resetting the luxury tax so we can spend big on the 2021 free agent class. And then what did we get last year? Fucking $25 million of Donaldson and IKF. So
Here's something interesting, and it kind of relates directly to what we're talking about, and we haven't mentioned it yet. Masataka Yoshida is expected to be posted within the next 2 weeks, and they'll have 30 days to talk to MLB clubs. It is separate from your international signing bonus money because of how old he is. The Yankees are expected to be in high contention for him. Contact hitting left-handed outfielder.
You
Left
know, a guy
fielder.
that does want to play for a high market, a big market team.
You would think that there's no indication that he doesn't want to play for the Yankees.
I mean, if he
He
does, you
wants to
still
play
have
for the
to pay.
Phillies apparently because he loves Bryce Harper.
He's like a
That's-
big Bryce Harper fan. His dog was
That's
wearing a
really
Bryce
funny.
Harper jersey. Did you see that?
Yeah, I think his
He's gonna
dog's
be a
name-
Philly. Let's not even talk about this.
No, that's not. They have to.
Do you see that Trey Turner wants to be a Philly?
Is that true, or is that just one of those jersey swap MLB nerds accounts? That is a,
No, it was-
that is
it
a blue
was like-
check now.
No, I actually got a notification for this one, not from Twitter. That was like, yeah, he likes what they have going on in
Who
Philadelphia.
wouldn't? They
right
went
now.
to the World Series.
Yeah,
and they had
exactly.
Bryce
It's like, yeah, I
Harper.
want to play for a World Series team. No shit.
I can see a lot of people going to the Phillies. I agree. I think a lot of people. It's a very attractive place to be right now, and Yankees Stadium is not really. If they don't have Judge, that's the problem. And a lot of things, you know, the Yankees offseason depends on what they do with Judge, obviously, for a number of reasons. That being the purse that they have left over afterwards. It depends. It dictates how everything else goes, like you said. But it also dictates whether or not other free agents will want to sign with us, because are we an attractive place to play? Or do you want to play with Aaron Judge, who just had this historic year? Will he be there? If he does, it's like one of those situations where, like in basketball, LeBron goes to LA and everybody wants to follow him, or he goes to the Cavs and everybody wants to follow him. Judge has that much of a pull right now that, similar to Bryce Harper, people want to play with Bryce Harper right now because of what he just did at the biggest stage in baseball. And that is a very big factor here as to how the rest of the season goes, if Judge is on the roster or not. Yes, like again, obviously the money left over is a big piece of it too, but I think to even be attractive enough to bring in people outside of Rizzo, I think Rizzo obviously would prefer to come back to the Yankees if Judge is here. But I think everybody else, like he obviously has an existing relationship with Judge, but Judge is a very well-respected guy by probably everybody in the league. So having him will be able to attract other people, and I don't know.
I'm curious what happens if Judge walks and they don't make a splashy move with the guys you currently have that are aging, like Giancarlo Stanton, like Garrett Cole. How do you sell that to your guys, your $324 million pitcher that wanted to come to New York to compete in World Series? How do you sell him on a rebuild? How do you sell him on, hey, you're going back to what the Pirates were? There's just so much bad that comes out of this. I don't know how they don't re-sign him. I really don't. You have to make him. You have to give him everything he wants. He has all the leverage here because all these high dollar guys that you have, they're not going to want to stick around. If you lose your number one guy and you don't make any corresponding moves or anything to counter that, and you're just rolling out a bunch of cucks next year to lose 90 games and miss the playoffs, how do you sell that to the aging high dollar guys? How do you sell that to an Anthony Rizzo? You can't sell that to anybody. You can't sell it to the fans. You sure as shit can't sell it to the players that are there every day.
Right. And the thing with that is the perspective that Hal and the front office will have on that is they don't need to sell it to the guys that are under contract. They're under contract. Rizzo, yes. But, and I agree with you. I'm on the side of that. Like, you want everybody to be bought in to what they're building there, not just collecting a paycheck and that's it. And you're the Yankees, you're expected to make it far into the playoffs. They've made the playoffs pretty much every year for the last long time. So it's just like, in their eyes, though, they're under contract. They bought them. They don't have to buy in. They are an employee of the company. So obviously you want to keep your guys happy, but I don't see that as a thing that Hal or the front office cares about.
Yeah, I mean, you do it by signing Judge first. I've said it before. It's the domino piece that will make everything else fall in place.
For the record, I'm not saying they're
January.
They're not considering it right now, like how Garrett Cole and those guys feel. They will in July if you're 20 games back and they're pissed off and want to leave and everything's burning down around you. They do have a problem on your hands.
So for reference, I think this is a good time to bring this video in. I saw this fun video, not so fun for Yankees fans, but it was Jeter talking to some other guys on some podcast, and it was just around how the front office handles big free agents like Derek Jeter and Aaron Judge. So let's give it a listen.
I was only a free agent once in my career. Right. And right when World Series is over, you can be a free agent. I went and met with our owner and GM, team president, my agent, and I said, look, verbatim, I'm not going anywhere. Right. Not going anywhere. I said, I told my agent, I probably shouldn't do this in negotiations, but I told my agent if any other team calls, tell them I'm not interested. Treat me fairly. Treat me fairly. Don't make it public. Right. Only thing I ask. And they made it public. And then they made it public, yeah.
Was that the kids or was that the boss?
No, that was front office.
Was the boss still around at that time?
No.
So that's good. That's really comforting to know that we have capable hands currently in the front office. He basically just threw shade directly at Brian Cashman and Hal, mainly Brian Cashman there, that, don't make it public. And that's another one of the big free agents that we're referring to. We got, a big, A-Rod departed, but Jeter was before that he was a free agent at some point. And I don't know if it was before that or after that, whatever. But point being, he was a free agent and he was Derek Jeter, similar gravitational pull that Judge has, similar with the media in New York, similar with the fans, how everybody loves him, and they still treated him this way. So, and they already did this to Judge. They did it before the season. They intentionally leaked the details of Judge's offer. We said we offered him this, painting him as the bad guy, this, that, and the third. So I guess just, if it can happen with Judge once, it can happen again. And it literally happened with Derek Jeter, who is probably the most iconic Yankee.
Derek Jeter to his face that he would rather have Troy Tulowitzki or Hanley Ramirez over him.
Somewhat breaking news, not really, but interesting that just came out. Aaron Judge on MLB Network said that he, quote unquote, had a little doubt that creeps into his mind about turning down the Yankees extension. He said, you're sitting in the outfield kicking yourself like, man, maybe I should have gotten that deal or taken that deal. Teammates and family told him he made the right call.
When did he have those doubts? Was it before or after hitting 60 fucking 2 home runs?
I would imagine before.
Probably when he was sitting at like 11 home runs, like
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's breaking.
Roger
news.
Maris is.
Well, I didn't mean breaking news was the wrong word. I saw Brian Hope tweet Aaron Judge said, and I was like, yeah, that's worth reading.
I think it's safe to say his bet paid off.
Brian Cashman, this just came out, has quote unquote been talking with and engaging in trade talks during the GM meetings, which he's not even employed. I don't understand how this is going on. He doesn't have a contract.
It's like when Kramer worked at that at that office for like a week and didn't get paid. It's funny. If you're a Seinfeld fan, that would have been funny. But
I just don't.
No one here laughed. I know Murph is a Seinfeld fan. Maybe he just wasn't paying attention.
I wasn't paying attention. Very funny though.
Fuck you.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out the contract situation. I'm like blown away.
Here's the
how
contract
he's negotiating with no contract.
They have a handshake deal. He's still employed as of October 31st. His contract went from being a full employment contract to an at-will employee. Basically, he's still employed by the Yankees, but he can be terminated at any time and vice versa. It's like all of us sitting here, and probably the majority of the people listening to this show are at-will employees. If they want to kick you to the fucking curb tomorrow, they can for no reason.
Right. We don't have a contract with their company.
So, but he doesn't have a contract, but this is under the implication that he is going to get a new contract.
He has a handshake deal of like, we want to bring you back. And until that happens, there's mutual interest. And until that happens, he's operating as the general manager of the Yankees. It's absolutely fucking stupid. It's completely ridiculous. No competent team in baseball, especially one where $6-7 billion does. But that's how we operate, apparently.
That weirdly gives me confidence in this offseason.
No.
Why?
This gives me less confidence.
Because he's on eggshells in terms of his future, so he's going to put his best foot forward, I think. If I was in this spot, I would put my best foot forward to have a great offseason. I mean, I know he's probably always trying to put his best foot forward, and it hasn't really worked out for him all the time. That got him Josh Donaldson and IKF. So I'm just thinking.
There's a fine line between a good offseason, though, and a desperate offseason. Because the other thing that he could do is turn around and sell Glaber for, to make all these crazy risky moves, thinking it's going to be a good offseason to get the contract. Because a splashy offseason could be flipped into people thinking it's a good thing. Whether Judge walks, whether they sign Judge, whatever. If they shake it up enough, he could convince Steinbrenner that it's a good enough offseason. And that could be even worse than we would have been just letting Judge go and filling some other way to spend $35 million.
I think Glaber's gone. I think that's almost a guarantee. And I
hope not.
The only thing that I think is going to happen this offseason, realistically, is Aaron Judge. And that's it. Him and, re-signing the guys we have. There's no reallocating that money. If you don't get him, that's going straight to Hal's, pocketbook. That's what it is. It is what it is.
Let me paint a picture for you. Let me paint a picture for you. So the offseason ends up being retain 3 guys: Judge, Benintendi, Rizzo. You bring up Volpe, you bring up Peraza. Cabrera's probably on the opening day roster too. So essentially what you're doing is taking, we didn't mention this, but we already brought back Luis Severino for another year. You're basically bringing everybody back and bringing up some young guys. And, I'm not going to talk about the there's going to be probably tiny moves outside of that, like as I wouldn't like to admit it, but a Darren O'Day type move. Would you be happy with that offseason? I personally think
when have we ever been content with running it back?
No. But I don't think it is running it back.
This is more. Yeah, I think it's more running it back.
I think it's running it back, but injecting youth, and that's something we've been asking for a while. So it's not. That's something that I would like to see. I would like to see a hybrid version of running it back, meaning bring back the players that were working, Benintendi, Rizzo, Judge, and then inject the areas that weren't working with youth that we've been wanting to come up for a while. And I would be excited about that season. I would book my flight down to Florida to go to spring training if that were the off season. I don't know about you guys.
Listen, I agree, but then you also have to consider, now we know Donaldson's not going anywhere, but you have Connor Falefa's contract, you have Hicks's contract, you have Glaber's contract, you have DJ's contract, who one of those two are probably going to be the odd man out if you really want to inject, this youth that we're talking about.
I think what you do with
either the money you get from letting them go, or whatever trade you can find your way into with that, and Tyone's money if they don't qualify him. Those other moves in between, I think, are what makes it feel like we're running it back versus doing the hybrid that we're talking about. Because if Aaron Hicks and Josh Donaldson and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa are still on the roster, whether they're starting or not, that's running it back.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah, I'm hoping that in that perfect world, I was hoping that they wouldn't exist. Like the Mets had the Bobby Bonilla contract every year. It's a Hicks thing. You write it off.
No, it should be re-sign Judge, get the youth up, and then also re-sign the key players like Rizzo.
Yeah. Murph, I used to work in tax. That's a write-off.
I think one thing that's interesting, and this is why I mentioned it earlier, back to Yoshida. He, I think, makes sense regardless of whether Judge signs or not.
Who?
He does.
Hicks?
No.
Yoshida.
Oh, I thought you said back to you, Sheila.
They're not.
I thought you were making a joke, a reference to a movie, and I didn't get it, so I laughed just to make you feel comfortable.
I did the same thing.
I also that's the second time I've heard Yoshida's name. So okay, and I'm all caught up now on who this is. Yes.
He's not. He's 30. He is not a great, fielder. Doesn't run that well. But he
sounds
does.
Like he sucks. Then why wouldn't we? Sounds like Hicks.
Well, because he never strikes out. And he hits 330 and has 20 home runs every year.
Yeah, he hits 330 and never strikes out in a different league. Like
we know what the Japanese league translates.
He has like one or
in a lot of
cases. He has 1.5 tools, and we're hoping that translates.
I don't know. The problem is I don't know what his contract's going to be, but it sounds like signing him doesn't mean you don't sign Judge and vice versa. And
well, I mean, no. But
if
you're
we
still
can't
gonna
bring
have to pay the
Benintendi
posting
back.
fee and then the contract separately.
Right.
But the posting fee, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't go towards the luxury tax, correct?
I am unsure how that works. I
don't
know
think
it's like
I don't think it does. It used to not. I don't know.
20% up into 25 million.
I don't know.
Right? So I don't know. Doesn't matter. But
yeah, I'm not gonna sit here like I.
The
like
fact that
I
I thought it was international signing. I thought it was international signing money, so I kind of thought they wouldn't go for him. But once I realized that he's older than I thought, and that it doesn't count towards your international signing maximum or whatever, I feel like he makes a lot of sense.
We did sign the #1 international free agent for what it's worth.
I did not even know that.
We do that every year.
Yeah,
some 16-year-old center fielder from Cuba. So
yeah, they do
something to get
they do
something
always
to
try
get
to
excited about in 10 years.
Yeah. Last question before we hop out of here. Do you think there's any chance whatsoever, just put this argument or idea to bed?
No.
What am I going to say?
I don't know what you're
going
saying.
to say. I just say no.
You're going to say Trey Turner.
Wait, guess what I was going to say. Chandler, no.
DeGrom.
No. That would be fun. Murph, what was I going to say?
I don't know what you're saying.
Aroldis Chapman's back.
Was there any chance that Dominguez makes a debut at all that next year?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
Whoa.
there is.
I think there is.
I don't think he's going to make the opening day roster.
No, I meant
but
I like pop up to the major league.
Yeah. Especially if you don't bring back Judge and you don't bring back Benintendi. If you roll out there with
yet or no?
He's like 21.
What?
That's not true. I
Dominguez?
think he's
That's
like
not
19. He is like 19.
He is 19.
All right. That's like
No, I know.
I'm 1 year off.
They brought up Juan Soto when he was 18.
Yeah, but he just doesn't seem
question.
like
Jesus Christ.
Dominguez
Yeah.
will be 20 when the season starts. But I'm just saying, if you don't bring back Benintendi, if you don't bring back Judge, if the world happens to where worst case scenario or the most realistic scenario based on Yankees past, if you roll out there with Oswaldo in left and like a stopgap like Cole Calhoun, aging vet and right field.
I never want a stopgap in my life ever again.
Oh, okay. Well, then don't be a
ruin
Yankee
that word
fan.
for me. No, I'm just saying
Don't
I
be a
can't
Yankee
ruin
fan.
that word for me.
But so I think that's a real possibility is that you roll out there with just dog shit in the outfield. Then there's a world where Dominguez plays well and he makes his way up. Like he finished the year in Double-A. I know it was just a timing thing, and he hit okay in Double-A. And
I think it can happen.
He's
going to start the year in
Double-A.
Double-A in like 10 games.
You know
I'm
what I
saying
think could happen
he
with
had
him?
flashes and showed things. What?
I didn't even know he made it up to AA. I thought he ended in Hudson Valley. But I think he needs to light the world on fire next year in AA and AAA to make it up.
I think it would be if he is gonna light the world on fire and he does come up, it would be like how Peraza did this year. It was for like a minute and then goes back down, and then he's
solely dependent on what we do in the offseason.
Yeah. If this team turns out to be the 2016 version of the Yankees, like we were saying before, they just pick up guys off the scrap heap like Chase Headley, then yeah, he'll probably have a role, and I hope it doesn't. So basically, I hope he doesn't have a role because that would mean that this offseason went horribly wrong. We lost Judge. And
the only one that's guaranteed coming back is Bader.
I love Bader
right now.
I love.
And then there's Dominguez, and then I think the next outfielder on the prospect list, other than Florial, is Florial's gone.
Brandon Lockridge.
No, it's Lockridge is second, but it's or third. What's his name? Pariah.
Yeah, Pariah.
That's it.
Which, speaking to the Bader deal. If Cashman wanted to point to something that he did well for his chance to get another job, I think the Bader one was pretty good right about now.
It's way too soon to tell.
I don't know. I'm willing to knight Harrison Bader as our center fielder in the future.
He had a fucking awesome postseason, but he hit like complete dog shit before the postseason, and it was a prisoner of the moment when our entire team looked like complete and total asshole, and then we have Bader lighting the world on fire. He's cool. He's exciting.
Yeah,
I'm just
cool.
saying,
I like him.
I'm just saying, pump the brakes, like on saying that Cashman did an amazing job.
To be fair, I liked him before he even played out of his shoes. I told you all that. I just like the type of player that he was, and then he ended up playing out of his shoes. So excuse me for having undying loyalty to a guy that I already liked. Who was
that's fine. Have undying loyalty to him, not Brian Cashman. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I was just gonna say if they want to point to how many terrible moves he's made, he's like, okay, I got one under my belt over here that worked out for 2 months.
Should buy me some time.
2 weeks.
At least give the guy more than a handshake contract so he can go deal with the biggest free agent we've ever had. I think so. Anything else you guys want to chat about? Let's play a quick game here before we hop out of here. It's called Would You Trade? Would you rather keep or trade? Or would you trade? Yes or no? That's an easier way of doing it. Oswald Peraza.
Yeah. I would trade any person in this organization for the right price.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and give you my
So
answer.
the segment's over then.
Yeah, I agreed.
Nobody is untouchable. The closest thing to untouchable is Volpe, but if you bring back Judge and you sign a shortstop and you tell me that you're going to trade Volpe and go get whatever the equivalent of Luis Castillo is, fucking go for it.
Yeah,
that's not going to happen, but in my eyes, he's untouchable.
Let's play a different game.
Not untouchable.
Who would you rather keep edition of the people that I was going to go through on this list? Would you rather keep Volpe or Dominguez?
Volpe.
Yeah, Volpe.
Damn it, don't say Dominguez just to be different. I see your thought process through. I know what you're doing.
Fine, Volpe.
Peraza or Cabrera?
Peraza. Easy.
Yeah.
Peraza.
I don't think it's easy. I don't think it's easy, but Peraza.
I think it's very easy.
I like Cabrera a lot.
I love Cabrera. Peraza's better. Here, I get a game for you. What's more likely? This is the one that we need to be having. What's more likely? We run out a team with. We do the best case scenario of running out Judge, injecting youth, and actually have a different looking team next year, or the polar opposite end of the spectrum that we go 2016 Yankees. Which one's more likely?
More likely they bring back Judge and run out the youth. I mean,
I think
that is just objectively more likely. The 2016 thing obviously could very well happen. That is just us being pessimistic, I think.
But
And
what reason?
Not that we have
optimism?
Because right now they've already said that Volpe is going to be able to contribute to maybe be the everyday shortstop. Cabrera is, barring something catastrophic in February and March, is going to be on the opening day roster, and the same with Peraza. And whether we think it's going to happen or not, we're the favorites for Judge. So that is the most likely option. If Judge doesn't sign,
favorites for Judge,
I would think so.
I would very much think so.
I think we are going to.
I feel like it would be news if we weren't. Let's see.
But
Now-
so that's the
yeah.
most likely, definite scenario. But
It all
I agree.
depends on Judge. If we don't get Judge, the whole thing changes.
So while
'cause then
Chandler,
it's
while
all-
Chandler looks up the betting odds for us to get Judge, if you were doing that, if not, whatever. But
I am.
what percentage chance would you say the Yankees have to bring back Aaron Judge? Damon, go first.
87.3.
That's very specific. Chandler,
He's gonna say like 10.
No, I'm going to say 50-50, maybe a little less. The betting
62.
odds for what it's worth, as of 2 days ago, the Yankees are minus 165. The Giants are plus 300, Dodgers plus 450, and then it jumps way down to Mets, Red Sox, Cubs. That's
The Mets aren't
what are we at?
Minus 165, which
If
is
the
not
Mets
a
get him,
good
Steve Cohen's an absolute genius because
I
he
just
already kind of
don't-
said that they're not going to.
yeah, he said that way. But I mean, I don't think that matters. We don't even know the type of owner that Steve Cohen is at this point. Maybe he's the guy who likes to throw smoke like that all the time.
He's a guy that doesn't want to fuck with the Yankees this early on.
I just don't know what team could really
Why?
be willing to outbid the Yankees.
And that's why.
They would do it.
There's a lot of
No, I'm
teams that
saying
are-
No, but he
I'm
doesn't
just
want-
saying like years wise, like if Judge really wanted the years and we weren't giving him that, like what teams are gonna give fucking Judge?
I
10
think the
years?
Giants would give him just about anything. Yeah, I don't think they give a fuck.
I don't know. I think it's
There are
He's-
teams
I think
that
I
are.
think their owner is too smart for that. They have one of the best
He's not the type of guy who do that
GMs in
too.
baseball. I cannot remember for the life of me what his name is, but I know he's pretty well respected as one of the best young GMs in baseball. And I don't know why he seems so adamant about paying anything for Judge.
I mean, they have.
Like,
have
I
the
don't
money,
know.
that's why.
I think when push comes to shove, I don't know if he would give him the longevity. Maybe
I don't
maybe
think
if
a lot
they
of
have
teams
money
would,
burning a
that's
hole
the
in their
thing.
pocket
That's
and
my-
they think he's worth it.
That's my concern with the Yankees, though, is the longevity.
That's
Yeah.
probably concern inside every single front office is that, yes, we want Judge. Yes, we'll pay him a shit ton of money. Every single deal is going to come down to the longevity of the deal or the number of years. And I think we have to bite the bullet and give them more than what everybody else is going to offer him. This deal may look terrible in the second half of the deal, but I genuinely do not give a fuck. Like,
But if we win next year, I don't give a fuck what
Yeah.
happens in the next 7 years.
if you can bring back the guy that broke records and won a MVP, it's not. I was gonna say unanimous MVP. It's not gonna be unanimous. He's going to win MVP. I'd be shocked if it wasn't. He just won the Hank Aaron award for best offensive player. Him and Paul Goldschmidt. I think those two are gonna probably be the MVPs. I hope they are. Yeah, it's gonna look bad for the second half of the contract. Who cares? Bring back Judge at all costs.
He's gonna be player coach Aaron Judge
That's fine.
Hey,
by
for the record,
30.
the guy that has predicted like 5 straight World Series as the Yankees
Next
next year in his list.
I put a lot of stock into that.
We need to.
Did we see the guy that's flipped a coin every week for
Yeah,
the
for the
Jets
Jets
schedule, and he's
Jets
been
record.
still right? It's like
Yeah. No,
we're gonna lose in the
Let's
AFC
go Jets, baby.
Championship.
I
Goddamn.
like to think about things with a lot of like data and things to back it up. I put my 100% faith in that random list.
That guy's notes app.
That guy's notes app with the World Series winners. Yeah, no, we're winning the World Series next year. I mean, with that being said, let's end the show on that. Everything's going to go right this entire offseason. I can't wait to clip this. Everything's going to go right this entire offseason. Judge is going to come back. Rizzo's going to come back. Benintendi's going to come back. We're going to win the World Series next year. Dominguez will come up halfway through, and he's going to be the star that we needed to inject some youth and some energy into this lineup after like a 5-game losing streak before the deadline. He's going to bring us to fire. He certainly will not be a bust. He's going to be the next Juan Soto. And then, Devi Garcia is going to be a Cy Young.
Sounds like a good prediction.
All right. That is going to do it for me. Next episode will be the 161 Awards. Look out for the polls. We're going to ask you guys. We're all going to nominate people to be up for every one of the awards. We will post those nominees to our Instagram stories, so go check that out at the 161 Boys. Follow us if you don't. And be on the lookout for that before next week's episode. The offseason has begun, obviously, now. So the episodes will now move to a regular cadence of once a week versus twice a week, or it was a little more irregular towards the back end of the season because it's kind of was a little sad to be a Yankees fan in our schedules. But this offseason will be once a week, I promise you that. And look forward to talking about. There's going to be a lot of talk in this offseason. Just historically, we there's always so many things that come up. Definitely enough for an episode once a week. So look forward to chatting about the Yankees with everybody for the rest of this season.